In front of us today, boys and girls, is the exotic hand cannon Thorn. It is returned to us, both similar and very different than what it was back in Destiny 1. Today, guys, we're going to be diving into this exotic, seeing what has changed here intrinsically, what new perks they've added to it, and of course, answering the question, can Thorn 2-tap? And what I mean by 2-tap, can it kill in 2 shots? Does it have the potential to literally take 2 bullets, or in this case, 2 thorns, to kill somebody? So let's talk about it. First up, intrinsically, we have Mark of the Devourer. Rounds pierce targets and deal damage over time. Kills with this weapon leave behind remnants. Now, those remnants are those little green orbs that you see, and they actually act like ionic traces. As in, as long as you're between 12 and 13 meters of that green orb, it will automatically come to you. Now, the purpose of even picking up these little green orbs is that it goes hand in hand with the trait here called Soul Devourer. Absorbing a remnant strengthens Mark of the Devourer and partially refills the magazine. Now, first up, refilling that magazine is super beneficial considering that this hand cannon only has a magazine size of 9 here. So getting that bump up there in magazine size, and normally it always just automatically tops me off. I'm not sure how much it gives you back, but I felt like every time I stepped over one of those remnants, my magazine was topped off. Now, as far as how it strengthens the Mark of the Devourer, that increase in damage that you receive is actually in its damage over time. So for instance, a normal shot from Thorn will actually tick damage 4 times for 2 damage each. So a total of 8 damage per shot is being added on top of what you're already hitting here with this 150 round per minute hand cannon, which is 68 per crit and 43 per body, which surprisingly does allow us here to kill in 2 crits, 1 body, which is pretty lethal considering that our other 150 round per minute hand cannons require 3 crits in order to secure a kill. Now, as soon as Soul Devourer is activated, and again, it activates for 6 seconds there, that damage over time goes from 2 to now 7 per tick, thus resulting in Thorn being able to 2-tap here in Destiny 2, which I'm gonna be honest, I was not expecting that to happen. Now, in order to avoid being 2-tapped, you'll need to rock something like 6 resilience or higher. Anything 5 resilience or less though, will easily be taken out by 2 shots from Thorn. Now, as far as damage fall off goes, Thorn is looking at a damage fall off range of about 29 to 30 meters. Which is kind of a bummer. If we take a look at the stats here, it does show 54 range. And I'm not saying that's a bad range stat. It's just not that good. Like, I was hoping more in terms of range there from Thorn. Considering we got hand cannons like Not Forgotten with range stats of like 74. Ace of Spades has a range stat of 86. I was hoping Thorn's lethality was going to stretch out, maybe not into those ranges such as Ace of Spades, but like somewhere between what it is now to the ranges where some of our far-reaching hand cannons can get to. But it's pretty obvious that Bungie didn't want us to sit there and cross-map people and 2-crit opponents. They want us to be somewhat close to our enemies in order to take advantage of Thorn's 2-tap potential. Now, with all of those things being said, is Thorn going to be a weapon you should be using? All right, I've spoken very highly about Thorn. I like this hand cannon. It's got the makings to be one of the nastiest hand cannons in the game. And I honestly think it could probably be one of the nastiest weapons on PC. But on console, there are some issues with Thorn. Number 1, the recoil pattern for Thorn is a little weird. The weapon shows a recoil pattern or a recoil direction of 100. So it should be just straight vertical, but it's very obvious that Thorn seems to kick to the right, requiring us here to kind of like pull to the left a little bit. That little bit of pull though is enough to throw your shot off. Not the first shot, but the consecutive shots afterward. Almost to the point where I thought that there was bloom on the hand cannon, but I honestly just think that's just the way the hand cannon behaves. Because I found myself constantly resetting my reticle, like backing out of my sights and going back in, kind of like I used to do back in D1. This was like an old school way of handling bloom. And I thought that was the case here with this weapon, but I don't think that's necessarily it. I really think that the weapon just has a funky recoil pattern to it. And that in combination with its inability to handle flinch, because let me be honest with you guys, this weapon, as lethal as it is, cannot handle flinch worth a damn. Some hand cannons can do it better than others. Thorn is definitely on the bottom of the totem pole in handling flinch. But I really think that that in combination with its recoil pattern and just how consecutive shots will start to get offbeat, especially when you're spamming your shots really fast. Because that's the thing about Thorn. When you first pick it up, you're going to be like, wow, this hand cannon, it feels snappy. That feels good. And you feel like you could just hit that trigger over and over again. But the issue is, especially in gunfights, you're going to start to notice that you're going to have to stop and pace your shots, almost on the level as it was back in D1. Now, of course, stopping and pacing your shots, that lengthens time to kill. And even though this weapon does possess a 0.8 second time to kill, relying on our damage over time is already going to lengthen that time to kill, and pacing your shots is going to lengthen that even more. So there is a playstyle that Thorn will present to you, and that playstyle really is playing super peak oriented, playing strategic, playing back, coming in and out of cover, resetting your reticle, resetting your shot. At least that is what I've seen to be the most effective playstyle with Thorn. Whereas something like a Not Forgotten or a Luna, you literally just stand out in the middle of a field and beat your chest like a gorilla, waiting for anybody to challenge you. Thorn, however, is the sneaky, I'm gonna pop a little damage here, I'm gonna let it simmer there for a little bit. I'm gonna pop a little damage there, and then finish you off at some point. And then, after you actually have Soul Devourer procced, is when you can play hella aggressive with Thorn. So guys, that is Thorn so far. We will be doing probably a PvE review of it. This has just been PvP for the time being. It's a good hand cannon, especially for a 150. But it 100% has some competition as well as some flaws that only certain players are going to work through, especially here on console. Will it replace things like Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl? Probably not. Whether that's a fault of Not Forgotten or Luna's Howl, or just a fault in general for 180 round per minute hand cannons, I will not comment on that today. I've got mixed feelings, boys, but we will have to save that for another video. Either way it goes, Thorn is back, so get your hands on it. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.